Our story begins in darkness, a time almost unimaginable. Over 4.5 billion years ago, our solar system was a place of chaos and creation. A vast, swirling disk of gas and dust surrounded a young, fiery star we now call the Sun. Gravity, the great architect of the cosmos, was pulling this material together. Clumps of rock and ice smashed into one another, growing larger and larger. This was the violent nursery of the planets. In this cosmic forge, a young Earth was taking shape. It was not the blue marble we know today. It was a molten world, a sphere of glowing rock, bombarded relentlessly by asteroids and comets. There were no oceans, no continents, no life. There was no moon. Then, we went to the moon. The rocks brought back by the Apollo astronauts held the clues. The leading theory today is called the giant impact hypothesis. It proposes that our solar system was once home to another planet, a Mars-sized world, which we have named Theia, after the mythical Greek Titan. For millions of years, the two worlds danced a dangerous cosmic ballet. Then, the inevitable happened. About 4.5 billion years ago, Theia collided with Earth. This was not a glancing blow. It was a cataclysmic, world-shattering impact. A colossal cloud of vaporized rock and debris was blasted into orbit around our wounded planet. Imagine a ring of fire and molten rock encircling the Earth, glowing brighter than 1,000 suns. Gravity once again took over. Over a period that might have been as short as a few years, the particles in this ring began to clump together. Slowly, a new sphere took shape. This was the newborn moon. As humanity emerged, we looked to the heavens for guidance. The Romans saw the moon as a great cosmic clock. They named her Luna. Luna was the foundation of their calendar. Her phases were predictable and repeating, ideal for measuring weeks and months. The Roman calendar was originally lunar. Month comes from moon. Luna was also a goddess, the divine embodiment of the moon. She was often depicted driving a silver chariot, pulled by horses or oxen. While her brother Sol represented the blazing masculine power of the day, Luna represented the cool, mysterious feminine power of the night. Temples were built in her honor, most famously on the Aventine Hill in Rome. She was seen as a serene and watchful guardian. But Luna had a dual nature. While she was a symbol of clarity and rhythm, she was also associated with madness. The belief that the moon could affect the mind gave us the word lunacy. For the Romans, the moon was a complex and powerful force. A clock, a goddess, a guardian, and a source of mystery. Long before the Romans, the ancient Greeks gazed at the same moon and saw their own goddess, Selene. For the Greeks, the world was alive with gods and myths, and the sky was the canvas for their greatest stories. Selene was a figure of immense beauty and grace, a Titan goddess who, like Luna, drove a silver chariot across the night. She was often depicted with a crescent moon on her head, her long robes flowing behind her like a trail of starlight. One of the most famous myths associated with Selene is her love for the mortal shepherd, Endymion. He was a man of extraordinary beauty, and Selene fell deeply in love with him as she watched him sleep on a mountainside. Wishing to preserve his beauty and keep him forever, she cast a spell that put him into an eternal slumber. Every night she would descend from the heavens to be with him, to gaze upon his face. This story speaks volumes about how the Greeks saw the moon, as a silent, loving watcher, a symbol of eternal, untouchable beauty. In the quiet of the night, under Selene's watchful gaze, it was believed that the veil between worlds grew thin. As she moved through her phases, from the bright fullness of her love to the darkness of the new moon, she represented the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. For the Greeks, the moon was woven into the rich tapestry of their mythology. Further north, in the mist-shrouded lands of the Celts, the moon held a different but equally profound power. The ancient Celtic peoples did not build stone temples like the Romans and Greeks. Their temples were the sacred groves, the ancient forests, the open sky itself. They often referred to her as the Silver Wheel. One of the most prominent goddesses is Arianrhod, whose name translates to Silver Wheel. She was associated with the stars, the cosmos, and fate. Her home was believed to be the constellation Corona Borealis. The Celtic calendar was deeply lunar. They measured their time not by days but by nights. For the Celts, the day began at sunset, in the darkness, which was seen as the womb from which the light of day was born. Their major festivals, like Samhain and Beltane, were timed by the phases of the moon. This shows a profound philosophical difference. They saw darkness not as an absence of light, but as a place of potential and beginnings. The Druids, as the priestly class, were expert astronomers, and their understanding of the moon's cycles was essential for their rituals and divination. The moon was intrinsically linked to the feminine, to the tides, and to the magical, watery realms of the otherworld. The moon was their vessel, the silver ship that carried souls through the cosmic sea. For the Celts, the moon was not a distant goddess in a chariot. She was an immanent, living presence, a sacred key that unlocked the mysteries of time, fate, and the eternal journey of the soul. For millennia, humanity has watched the oceans rise and fall with uncanny regularity. We built our ports, planned our fishing trips, and sailed our ships by this mysterious rhythm. We knew the moon was connected to it, but how? The answer lies in a force we cannot see, but which governs the entire universe: gravity. The moon, despite being much smaller than the Earth, exerts a powerful gravitational pull on our planet. This pull is the engine that drives the tides. The water on the side of the Earth closest to the moon is pulled towards it, creating a bulge. This is high tide. But here's the fascinating part. There's also a high tide on the opposite side of the Earth. This happens because the moon pulls the solid Earth itself towards it. As the Earth spins, any given point passes through both bulges, which is why we experience 2 high tides and 2 low tides each day. When the sun, moon, and Earth are aligned during new and full moons, their gravitational forces combine, creating extra high tides called spring tides. When the moon and sun are at right angles during quarter moons, their pulls partially cancel out, leading to less extreme neap tides. The endless rhythm of the sea is the visible effect of our planet's dance with the moon and sun. The moon's gravitational pull does not stop at the shoreline. It tugs on every part of our planet with the same relentless force. This includes the solid ground beneath our feet. The continents, the mountains, the vast plains, they all respond to the moon's call. This phenomenon is known as a land tide. You don't feel this movement because the entire landscape rises and falls together. When the moon is overhead, the surface can bulge upwards by as much as 50 centimeters, about 20 inches. This flexing of the Earth's crust has real effects. Scientists with incredibly sensitive instruments, like particle accelerators or GPS systems, have to account for these land tides. The slight stretching can affect their precise measurements. Geologists believe these solid Earth tides may influence geological activity. The constant stress on tectonic plates could be the final trigger for earthquakes in fault zones already under strain, like the straw that breaks the camel's back. This constant flexing generates friction inside the Earth, creating heat. This tidal heating contributes to the planet's interior heat budget. The same process drives volcanic fury on Jupiter's moon Io. It reminds us the planet is not a static, rigid ball of rock. It is a dynamic, living world, constantly responding to cosmic forces, literally breathing in time with the moon. The moon's influence extends far beyond rock and water. It is deeply woven into the fabric of life itself. Consider the Great Barrier Reef. Once a year following a full moon, a spectacular event occurs. Trillions of corals release their eggs and sperm into the water simultaneously. This mass spawning is one of Earth's greatest reproductive spectacles. By synchronizing to the lunar cycle, corals maximize fertilization chances, a strategy ensuring survival for millions of years. This lunar rhythm isn't limited to corals. Many marine creatures, from sea turtles to certain fish, time their reproduction with the moon. Grunion have a remarkable ritual. On nights following the highest tides, they swim onto sandy beaches. Females bury themselves to lay eggs while males wrap around them to fertilize. They time this so eggs hatch on the next spring tides 2 weeks later. On land, the connection is subtler but real. Many nocturnal predators, like lions, are more successful hunters during darker nights when prey cannot see them easily. Consequently, their prey are more active and vigilant during full moon nights. Even migration patterns of birds and nocturnal activity of insects correlate strongly with lunar phases. Life has evolved under a sky with a moon, shaped by its light and gravity for eons. We have journeyed from the violent birth of the moon to its influence on oceans, land, and wildlife. But what about us? Does the moon still exert a pull on human beings? This question has fascinated us for centuries. While modern science has largely debunked that the moon causes madness, the subtle connections might be more real than we think. For most of human history, the full moon would have profoundly impacted our ancestors' lives. It provided light for traveling, hunting, and social gatherings. Our sleep patterns were once intrinsically linked to this monthly cycle. Recent studies suggest we may retain echoes of this ancient rhythm. The average menstrual cycle is 29.5 days, almost identical to the lunar cycle. For our ancestors, this synchronicity would have felt deeply significant. As we conclude, we see the moon is so much more than a beautiful object in our night sky. It is our history, a piece of Earth itself, flung into space in a cosmic collision. It is the steady hand that stabilized our world, the gravitational engine that stirs our oceans, and the silent clock that has guided life for billions of years. To study the moon is to study our deepest origins and most fundamental cosmic connections. It is a journey of science and spirit, data and dreams. Welcome to Moonology. Your journey to understanding our magnificent celestial partner has just begun.